Excuse me, guys. This is an illegal gathering, isn't it? Is this not an illegal gathering? I mean, I regard the law as basically a gentleman, so don't get me wrong, yeah? But this is technically an illegal gathering, am I correct? Because they're gathering with more than 6 people.
It's not an illegal gathering.
But no, but what they're doing is against the law, is that correct? Because you guys arrested a bunch of people who came here a couple of weeks ago. I was here documenting it. Okay, what does it say? Just read it out.
Yeah, of course. Gatherings of 3 or more people from different households for a common purpose in a public place are not permitted. Social distancing during a gathering is no offence. So basically, are they together for one of the following reasons? Well, the person gathering are members of the same household, doing essential work purpose.
Oh, so you're actually stopping people now?
Say again?
You've been told to go in and break this up. Is that what's going on?
That's why everyone's here. Yeah.
Oh, I see. The police, because the police didn't say it to me before, but you're now stopping everyone.
I don't think it's time to debate this with this person.
No, it's important because I want to tell.
We're dealing with this person here. He has already given directions.
Can you provide me your name and address?
Are you going to charge the people here?
I got told.
Danny, I'm not.
What has she actually done? What have you actually done?
I'm just under
You've gathered. Have you?
Not on the same household. Not for a work building. Not for a funeral.
Well, you don't have to. You just came here. You can say you just came here.
Listen. Therefore, I suspect you of committing an offence under that act I've just shown you to prevent any misunderstanding.
Actually, right now he's endangering your life. You're endangering your life. Officer, you are getting close. Officer Pennington, you are far too close to this woman. If you are trying to, you must step back. Hold on a second. 2 meters. That is, you are right up close. You need to step back 2 meters. Ask them to step back 2 meters. He is endangering your life. Please stay back. You are going. So what? You can speak loudly. I'll lend you my megaphone. You can speak loudly. Yeah. Why are you not wearing a mask? Why are you not wearing a mask? Why are you not wearing gloves? And why are you endangering this woman's life for coming here to Hyde Park? One of the women that you just gave a fine to is living on nettle soup because she hasn't got any money during this lockdown. Okay, and you've just fined them £100 for just coming here. Seriously, do you not feel any?
I'm not allowed to give my opinion on all this. I'm just here to enforce the law.
Right.
If you found me in a pub and we had a chat, then I'd be happy to explain anything you want. But you get where I'm coming from.
I wouldn't come to a pub.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway.
If you find me out of uniform, I'd be happy to have a chat.
You guys arrested and fined people because they were gathering in groups of more than 2.
And the same principle, same approach is happening today.
Is it? Yeah. So you're going to be picking off people
so
and
those people explaining what's happening and reminding them of the regulations, the health protection regulations that are in.
Right. Well, they're law, aren't they? Really, because they're backed by violence.
Yeah.
They're backed by violence.
Yeah.
So.
They're not legislation. They're regulations.
Yeah, regulations.
Yeah, so it's a summary offence.
Right. Right.
So it's that's what they're all going to be reminded of. Not all, because as you can see, there's a lot. So
right. But you're going to start.
We're going to start that engagement and explanation exactly as we've done with every other.
And fine them and then arrest them if necessary.
It may come to that.
Right. Okay, thank you. Just one other thing. I've been campaigning for about 1.5 years to make reproduction illegal. And now, to make reproduction illegal, reproduction, in other words, having children, I believe that should be illegal. So I've been campaigning for that, and I'm very delighted that the government have now basically said it is illegal if you're not. Well, it's illegal to have sex if you're not living with the person, right? Well, it's not, but it leads to reproduction. So, I understand. I agree with you, but I'm saying if reproduction happens. I don't think
they've said you can't have sex.
What's that?
I don't think they've said you can't.
Yes, they do.
I don't think that's in regulation.
But it's true though.
You can't stay outside in someone else's house.
Yeah, but how can you possibly have sex if you're not living with the person and keeping 2 meters apart? You'd have to be pretty good at it.
But it doesn't say you can't have sex. It doesn't say that in regs.
Okay, fine. But I'm saying, how are you guys intending to police? Like, for example, my mate John, he's been using Tinder and he's been knocking up a couple of women. Is that someone I should be reporting? I'm saying, should I report that?
do you feel it's a civic duty to report that criminal, that's not criminal behaviour, that breach of that regulation?
Yeah.
It's entirely up to yourself, isn't it?
Okay.
And then officers may.
But it's a civil duty, though, to do that.
If you listen to the government, it could be the civil duty, isn't it? Because what we're trying to achieve, we're trying to make sure we stop the spread of the virus, isn't it? That's
really?
That's what is.
Well, that's what you've been told, hasn't you?
That's what it
but the thing is that the whole purpose of the lockdown in the first place was not to stop the spread of the virus; it was to slow the spread of the virus.
Yeah, you're probably quite right. You can't stop it, can we? Because it's there. But it's to slow it. That's a fair point.
And now that we've slowed it down, in fact, this is a good time to get the virus. Because the hospitals are empty.
I'm not an expert. I've already had it. I've got positive. But I'm all right now. Fella, see you later on.
Thank you.
Guys, social distancing. What's going on here? Why are you guys all huddled up together? Can anybody answer me why you're all huddled up together? Nobody? Guys, can you tell me why you're all huddled up together? Are the police immune from the virus? How come the police haven't like dropped dead like flies? Strange, isn't it? Look at them.
Why does human life matter?
Because we have a very high opinion of ourselves. We invented the linguistic capability to say that things matter. So of course we matter, don't we? That's the privilege we have of, raising ourselves above the beasts, perhaps. Yeah.
Right. So okay. So
human arrogance.
Right.
Generally, but I disagree with the statement. I believe all lives matter.
You believe all lives matter?
Yeah.
Do you believe all lives matter or all life?
Yeah, all life.
Does that include animal life?
Yeah, sure. I still eat meat though, so I'm a massive hypocrite. But it's about finding a balance in this world, isn't it? Yeah, all life matters. I disagree with your friend's statement.
I hear you. And what brings you here today?
What brings me here today is a sense of injustice, a sense of it being the world as it is an unacceptable state, and you need to add yourself to a larger voice if you're going to make a difference. Maybe it doesn't. I'm sceptical about protests, about this, but there's no point sitting at home by myself and being sceptical, is there? So I'm here to add my voice to all of these other people. Yeah, that's right. That's what's brought me here.
Great. Lovely, thank you. Why human lives matter.
Yeah, I say like we're sentient beings. Like the minute you start to know right from wrong, is the minute you begin to matter. Like I think all life will matter anyway. Like, do you know what I mean? You see where people are always talking about like the veganist movement and shit like that. But obviously that does make sense because animals' lives do matter as well. But human lives matter more because it's us. We're all together.
Really underestimate the power of feelings, and like without humans you won't be able to feel. And what kind of life is that? And like people like disregard like the joy that actually another soul can give another, you know? And like,
so you think the power of the sentience and the power of feeling is what makes life,
and it's what unites us as well. It's the thing we all have in common.
But with all material and all that, like we kind of lost touch with that, and you know, it's just.
Okay, great. I've got a further question for you because I personally think that the whole idea, and this is a very niche and very unusual view, and I know that, right? I personally think that the idea of sentience is a terrible idea. I think it's a terrible, terrible idea, and whatever created it, I think is quite kind of mad, right? Because feeling means the ability to feel pain and suffering, yeah? It's all right. It's yeah. So you know. So why do we make such a fuss about people being born in the first place, right? Because being born means you're definitely going to be suffering, and you may even suffer hugely, right? And you're definitely going to die. So why are we making such a fuss of human life?
Well, it seems like to me is that people are trying to take away the limelight from what actually does matter. By saying that no lives matter is still taking away the fact that people are trying to put forward the Black Lives Matter. So I think it's just more of instead of focusing on what we're supposed to be focusing on, it's just, let's just choose something else because we don't really care about that. That's what it seems like to me.
Right.
It also sounds similar to the All Lives Matter thing. It's where obviously all lives matter, or if you believe no lives matter, obviously that's what you believe, obviously that's true. But it's taken away from the fact that black people are being oppressed right now. This is what today's about. It's not about all lives, it's about black lives.
Right.
And that's not taken away from white lives, Asian lives, all of that. Because if it was happening to Asians, then Asian lives matter. If it's happening to white lives matter. Do you know what I mean? Things like that. You've got to focus on what it's about. And with the going back to the sentient thing, it's not a thing you choose. You don't choose that. You're born with it, and it's there, and you have it.
I agree with you.
You don't choose to feel. If you fall in love, you don't choose to fall in love with the person you fall in love with. That's what happens. If someone gets you angry, you don't choose to be angry. That person's made you angry. You know, things like that. So I think that's always the tough one to say, and that's why you make a big deal about it, because it's something like I said, we have all in common.
What would you like to see happen as a result of this? What do you want to change? How is change going to happen? How and what?
It's just equality. It has to be known. And the thing is, people say that they're aware and stuff like this, but it doesn't matter about whether you're aware. You have to apply it.
So how would that in practicality? How do you understand what I mean? I'm genuinely would like. What do you and what do you think people?
When people think they can get away with stuff, they're going to continue to do it. Do you know what I mean? The reason is like the police brutality thing. Nothing happens to them. Police officers that are killing our people. You know what I mean? So when things start to happen and sanctions happen and they get punished brutally, like they've been brutal, then
right. So you want to see the police brutality dealt with in a fair way.
Yeah.
That's what you want to see.
Yeah.
Great.
And that way it sends a message.
Okay. Lovely.
No peace! No racism! No peace! No peace! Police! No peace!
So one of the things I'm doing today is documenting people's own personal experience of prejudice and police brutality. Yeah, and I just wanted to ask you, what has your experience, your personal experience been? Have you experienced racism at the hands of people in general and at the hands in particular of the police? Brutality, racism?
Yeah, I've experienced it through the police, I've experienced it through security at nightclubs. There's been times when I've been walking with friends of multiple ethnicities, and I'm always the one that's called out first to be checked what's on me, or at least to ask where I'm going. It's happened multiple times. Also, when you tell the police something, they don't believe you. You have to explain yourself more than another race. I've been stopped in my car a lot when I used to drive.
Like when you say a lot, because I just think I don't think people realise, people like me, whatever that means, realise what you guys go through. You know, it's a sort of a vague idea, but you know, like what? Because I've literally, I personally, as a white person, although I don't see myself as that, but as a whatever you want to call it, I've literally never been stopped for drugs. I've never been stopped, despite my T-shirt. Have you seen what it says? I've never been stopped for drugs. I've never been stopped other than, you know, for speeding or whatever. So, like, how often would that happen?
It happened quite often, and I had two separate ways of it happening, where it happened when I had a really shit car, so they thought I was a drug dealer, and then I bought a brand new car, they thought I stole it. Do you know what I mean? So those were the lines of conversation I was having with police officers who would stop me. In terms of quantity, it happened at least once a month, depending on the area I'm driving in. And in terms as well of like when I get stopped and searched, admittedly it's happened less as an adult because I dress a bit better, but I shouldn't have to dress better to stop being stopped and searched. My friend here, when I was young, it happened to you 2 or 3 occasions. Like even worse than you, like many times it's happened to you. So he's probably got more of a raw experience when we were younger when that happened.
Do you want to share with us what your experience has been?
I mean, my first experience would, I'll take it back as far as 7, 8 years old. Simply on the way home, holding my mum's handbag. It must have been 10, 11 o'clock, and the police stopped me on my doorstep while she was getting out of her boyfriend at the time's car. So as far back then, me and my mates playing in our local blocks with toy guns and police literally jumping out of bins to stop us, and being stopped by police and blatantly being told that we're being stopped and searched because we're black. and so I've experienced quite a lot, but I just try to use it to push me, you know. Obviously there are times when it is a negative feeling, but as I grow older and wiser, I hear other people's stories. I shouldn't really say this, but sometimes it even makes my experiences not feel so bad, as mad as that sounds. But yeah, we all gotta be positive, man. That's all I really have to say.
And what do you want from this? If you were to, you know, what's going on here? What do you want from this? What do you think can be achieved by this, or is it not about that?
I think this has brought a lot of people together and opened a lot of people's eyes. The main thing I want is for this to continue, not I don't know, a week or a month later and it's just died down, you know. And I just don't want people to forget the reason why we're out here. Yes, I know there's a lot of other reasons like corrupt governments and stuff like that going on. We all need to support all these causes, but I just don't want the initial cause why this all started to be distorted. But there's many positive movements we support. So I just want everyone to continue, keep sharing stories, take a break from social media when you need to, if it's a bit of an overload, there's Reg. But just keep sharing, and yeah, that's it.
So tell us about your experience of being a black woman.
There's a saying, being a woman is like being black twice, right? So then imagine being black on top of that. You actually are a woman. You're seen as, so especially me, I'm light skinned, so some people say, oh, you're exotic, you know? So you're ticking boxes. What it's like to be mixed race, you're always ticking the other box. Like that's what it is, you know? You're never getting to be a person, it's always like an other. People don't respect a woman's voice as it is, and then when you're a black woman's voice, what happens to you? How do you feel growing up? You get suppressed, you feel depressed, you feel like you're out in the open with no clothes on. That's how they make you feel, vulnerable. You're made to feel like you have no chance in any other world that you're working. They want you to make you feel that you can't be a lawyer, a doctor, solicitor, as if we're so uneducated and as if we're black and dumb. But look, and what the amazing thing about black women is, let's go to a positive, is that because of all this, we've become strong. Every time we get hit back down, we stand back up and help each other back up. But people would never understand what it is like. And what we need to do next is think about, okay, this is happening and this is amazing, but it's about how we're all going to support each other to move on from this. We need to start talking about ourselves as equal. One word we'll be using, as you can see, is Black Lives Matter. Yes, Black Lives Matter, but we're not asking to have civil rights. We're asking for equality. We're asking for black businesses to grow, us to become black owners. So what happens next? We need to start supporting each other, and people need to understand that come and buy from black products, learn from black teachers, black doctors, instead of looking down on us. Yeah, that's the thing.
Okay, thank you very much.
So, I mean, I've lived in quite a lot of different countries. So by the time I was 18, I had lived in 9 different countries. So everywhere I went, it was a different experience. So there's some countries where I've never felt racism. When I lived in Nigeria, all those countries, I don't remember it. But when I lived in Australia, when I lived in Italy, when I lived in France, I felt racism. As young as 6, I remember someone telling me that they couldn't be my friend because their mother said black people are violent. So that's my first memory of racism. But, you know, I'm quite lucky. I've grown up in a household where my parents never made me feel lesser because of who I am, what I look like. And so I've grown up, I have a great education, all of that, and I currently work as a project manager. But in the midst of that, I still get that expression from people where I must be lesser, or I must be doing something wrong because of the color of my skin. Recently, I was in an airport where I was made to, you know, people were afraid, or they took my passport, asking me all these additional questions that I've never seen them do to other people. And I have to assume, because I'm a tax-paying citizen, I'm a woman who's in her community doing what I think is right, but somehow, because of what I look like, I'm still targeted. So I think the big change comes there. take ownership, look at yourself, look at your heart and think, do I treat people differently because of what I look like? If that is the case, do something about it. So yeah.
I was questioning what protests can do, right? And I was questioning, you know, who's funding these protests and who's behind them and who benefits from them, and how come the establishment, for example, have allowed this to happen, because they don't allow things to happen unless they want them to. And you were saying that there's a benefit from all the people gathering here, because the people gathering here, the people, they need some kind of outlet. Tell us more about what you were saying.
My point of view is that I think we were going into conversation about where Black Lives Matter is funded from, etc. I think those are theories. I think we're always going to have an element of conspiracy theories, and we need cold facts in order to prove that. But for me, being on a grassroots level down here, this is important for people that are down here, because they're actually protesting based on their experiences. They're not protesting because of anyone's funding. They're actually protesting against the government in order to get a voice heard. And this is what they want their voice to be heard as. So we can go through theories galore, but the fact of it is that people are here because of their experience. And if their experience weren't negative, then they wouldn't be on these streets.
And what should the government do? What are the people here demanding that the government do?
I'm going to talk on a real micro level, not a macro level, but a micro level. And I think justice. I think justice for George Floyd, justice for Breonna Taylor, justice for all of the people that have been killed at the hands of police brutality. And that's very macro. That's actually something that's actually quite normal to ask for. But actually, we've got to ask for it because we've had so many injustices that we're to the point of actually screaming it out now. And so I'm going to say that on a really small level. We can talk about reform, we can talk about all of these other systems, but that's at least what people want.
And what have you personally experienced in terms of racism? Are you prepared to share?
Oh, of course. I mean, how long do you want?
Really? Is it that bad?
I live in a metropolitan city, somewhere that's quite mixed and blended. I can be one of many black people in a room, or I can be one of many people in a room. So it really depends on what scale of what you want to talk about.
Maybe just a couple of experiences.
I'll tell you a poignant one. I used to have a friend when I was probably about 10, 11, and he invited me to his dad's house. And when we got outside, he was like, actually, you can't come in because my dad doesn't like black people. I was 10, 11 years old having to sing that one in. So, I mean, that's an early experience.
A more recent one?
You know what? I think that we're quite immune to kind of what is everyday racism. So a look, a stare, a follow from a security guard. It can be as simple as that. And then we're talking about something which is systemic racism. So that comes from not being given the same opportunities as other people. That gives the fact that my CV at somewhere might not be even considered because of my name. And that's a real problem. We're talking about obviously.
What is your name?
My name is Ashley, actually. But I mean, it is quite a British name. But essentially, if someone was to look at it and I had a lot more of an ethnic name, I wouldn't be given those opportunities, which is actually a sad thing, really sad.
Have you ever had any problems with the police? Have you ever been stopped?
I've been stopped several times in my life. I've been asked, can I touch your balls in the middle of the street by a police officer. I've been arrested to be strip searched in a actual police station where I had nothing. There was no suspicion that I had anything. I've been pulled over inside of the road, and my whole belongings in my car have been actually spilled out on the road. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just one last thing is, what do you think these protests can do?
They can spark conversation, and they can spark change, and they can spark justice.
Thank you. I've been asking people, firstly, what personal experience, if any, have you had of racism in yourself or your family, and of police brutality?
Okay, of racism. Well, I was born here a long time ago, and I suppose racism has affected my life from as long as I can remember, from early childhood memories, from about 4 years old. But it certainly was going on before, as a baby, from what my parents have told me and the way that they were treated. Yeah, all through my schooling, all through work, everyday occurrences, most of it very subtle, most of it quite covert, but yeah, it affects me today. And my family, I have black boys, and even my youngest, who's just, he's now 21, but I remember having a conversation with him a few years back. He was about 15, and I had brought up the conversation about black boys being stopped by the police, and he said to me, "Oh yeah, Mum, I was stopped a couple of years ago, 13-year-old child," and I said, "Why did they stop you? What did they ask you for?" And he said, "Oh, it was one day you asked me to go and get some bread at the supermarket, and me and his cousin were stopped and questioned about what they were doing and why they were doing it." And I at the time said, "Well, why didn't you tell me?" And he said, "Happens to lots of people." He just didn't think that it was something unusual. But yeah, it affects us all.
Thank you.
Okay.
What is really going on?
Well, so I'm going to tell you now. Basically, what this is about is just racism. As I said, I'm a 59-year-old man. I've experienced this from I was 12 years old. I've realised what was going on growing up from school. So at the end of the day, I just think that these people now, we're all at the end of our tether. I've been going through this for 47 years. So you can imagine that, you know, this is the final straw now. And I think a lot of people have decided that this is the last straw and something needs to be done. And we just pray that we get a government that will understand this. It's not like as bad as America, but we're not far off them. We just want Boris Johnson to realise this and acknowledge it, you know, and then for policemen to get first-degree murder charges, which is what it was. Whether you were standing about, whether you was a rookie, whether you just on the job 2 days previous, it doesn't matter. You stood there and watched a man's life get choked out of him. Not good. That's my view.